I thought you were a hero. Heroes don't do things like this.
That's because Renegade Shepard is a no-nonsense hater that will do whatever it takes to complete his mission. I wanted to see just how many kills Shepard is responsible for throughout his career. The first thing I had to do was confirm what is canon, and luckily for me, BioWare was extra careful to make any references to Commander Shepard as vague as possible in other media. They wanted each individual player's Shepard to be its own canon, which means that I can do whatever I want. I stuck to mostly main story missions, but I did complete some side stuff here and there to get my Renegade points up, and if it was important to the main storyline. There's an entire trilogy to cover here, so let's get into it. I elected to customize my Shepard, so instead of looking like a generic Space Marine, he looked like a generic Space Marine. I went Vanguard and messed up by choosing the Ruthless Spacer background instead of the Ruthless Earthborn one to maximize my Renegade points. Shepard is suggested for a mission by Ambassador Udina, but Admiral Hackett has concerns about his suitability considering he got so many killed during the battle against the Batarians on Torfin 5 years prior. The details here are vague, so we have to try and figure out how many he got killed. Starting out, we need to know what his rank was to determine the size of the unit he led. His commanding officer was Major Kyle, which means Shepard was likely a captain after looking at Alliance military ranks. Based on current US military standards, a captain commands anywhere from 62 to 190 soldiers. But considering this is far into the future with a spacefaring human civilization, we can safely assume that number will go up a little bit. Let's say Shepard commands a unit of 200, and we know for certain he got 3/4 of his unit killed by sending them into the meat grinder to overrun the Batarians and force them to surrender. That means he starts the game with 150 kills on his record before it ever really starts. On top of that, he also got an untold amount of Batarians killed, but we have no way to calculate that unfortunately, so we can't count them here. We cut forward to Shepard in the Normandy heading towards the human settlement of Eden Prime to investigate a beacon created by a long-lost civilization called the Protheans. The Alliance want it transferred so they can study it and assign Shepard to do exactly that. Aboard the ship is Nihilus, a Tyrian Spectre who is there to observe Shepard to determine if he's fit to join the Spectre ranks. After Shepard makes it known he hates having aliens aboard his ship, a transmission from Eden Prime comes in showing the settlement under attack. This gives Shepard even more opportunity to prove he can become a Spectre, which would give him way more freedom to do things his way. Nihilus takes off to scout ahead, while Shepard and his squad begin looking around, and almost immediately Shepard gets one member of his squad killed as he waves him forward to get gunned down unexpectedly by Geth drones. Shepard and Caden Alenko gun down the drones quickly, but those won't count as kills since they are not sentient beings. Nearby, they run into a surviving soldier named Ashley Williams and assist in killing the Geth pursuing her. Shepard gets the rundown on what happened, learning the Geth, a synthetic race that was thought to keep to themselves, suddenly appeared and attacked the colony. She believes her entire unit was killed, earning some harsh judgment from Shepard, which is rich because he's no stranger to getting his squad killed. Soon after, they down more Geth in some of their creations, reanimated dead referred to as husks. While Shepard is punching out rambling lunatics, Nihilus is getting executed by a fellow Spectre. They then witness what looks to be a massive ship lifting off, which puts a bit of a pep in their step and adds 4 more kills. Afterwards, they discover Nihilus's corpse and a local reveals another Turian seemed to betray the other one and claims his name was Saren. The trio of soldiers continue on and eliminate a few more Geth and husks, while also deactivating explosives that were set to destroy the colony. They locate the Prothean beacon, and while Shepard calls its location into the Normandy, stank-ass Ashley gets too close to it, triggering an event that has Shepard spring into action and push her away, which gets him caught in its grasp and force-fed a series of incomprehensible visions before it explodes and renders Shepard unconscious. After a while, he comes to and gets the worst news possible. Ashley has been added to his crew. They're on their way to the Citadel to inform the Council about what happened, but their work is cut out for them as they are apt to believe the word of a highly decorated Spectre such as Saren over Commander Shepard. The Council sides with Saren as Shepard is unable to provide any evidence of his claims against the obviously evil Spectre. I mean, just look at this dude's face. Udina suggests Shepard talk to a Turian officer named Garrus, who hates Saren's evil face as much as he does, and would be more than willing to assist. He heads to Korra's den, a club in the lower section of the wards, and gets attacked by a couple assassins. Inside is a known alcoholic Harkin, who wants to gossip about Captain Anderson, but we're only here to inquire about Garrus' whereabouts, which is in the med bay. Shepard arrives just in time to help Garrus take down a few hooligans. The men were sent by Fist, the owner of Korra's den. to silence the doctor about a Quarian woman she treated a couple days prior. This used to work for the powerful information broker known as the Shadow Broker, but is now an agent of Saren. What piqued Shepard's interest is the Quarian's knowledge of the Geth, so he backtracked to Korra's den to find the place as it turned hostile, which means more kills to bump those numbers up. After a brief firefight, Shepard forces Fisk to surrender and learns he set the Quarian up in a nearby alley. He shoots him dead and kills more of his thugs and assassins to save the Quarian named Tali. She comes to Shepard to Udina's office and shows proof that Saren is a bad man. They present the proof to the Council, who can no longer deny Saren's guilt, and they recognize the other voice as Asari matriarch Benezia. They strip Saren of his Spectre status and elevate Shepard in his place. Before meeting Udina and Anderson at the Normandy, Shepard gets derogatory at a preaching Hanar.
Because it's a big, stupid jellyfish.
And adds the Krogan bounty hunter Rex to his party. Outside the Normandy, Shepard learns that Anderson is being forced to step down so that Shepard can take control of the ship and is given 3 pieces of intel that he can tackle at his own discretion. He looks for the matriarch's daughter Liara first. She's an expert on the Protheans and may also help decipher the visions he got back on Eden Prime. The excavation site gets attacked by Geth, forcing Shepard and his squad to intervene in order to save Liara. While inside the Mako and on foot, Shepard kills 56 Geth and a single Krogan while saving Liara and adding her to his crew. They debrief on the Normandy and Liara claims to have found some odd patterns that indicate civilizations rise up and get wiped out without a trace every 50,000 years. Shepard's like, "No shit, Liara, it's the goddamn Reapers," and he has everyone leave the room so he can report into the Council and hang up on them mid-conversation. Next, they head to the planet Pharos, which is under attack by the Geth. Shepard makes quick work of the Geth nearby and returns to the colonists who can't really provide any intel on why the Geth are attacking them. He knows they congregated at the local Exogeny headquarters that most of the colonists work at. Using the Mako, Shepard and his squad make their way over there, eliminating Geth with ease. Eventually, they come across a woman named Lisbeth, who reckons the Geth are there for the Thorian, a life form the people at Exogeny were studying, but the Geth ship is latched onto the building and emanating a force field that needs to be taken down. They're attacked by some local fauna before they encounter a dumb Krogan that's getting big mad at a VI. They continue on killing Geth and Krogan until they sever the ship from the building and lower the force field. It's unclear if there were any Geth aboard the ship, but we can reasonably assume they emptied it out in order to carry out their mission and defend it. Elizabeth catches up to the squad and warns them about the Thorian. But Shepard's not heeding that shit and demands to know where it's at. She informs him it's under the colony they defended when they showed up, which requires some backtracking to get to. He clears out a few more Geth in the Mako before he jumps out and pops this brown-nosing company man for being an absolute chode. Before heading to the colony, we're told the Thorian has taken over the minds of the people there, and it's suggested I use non-lethal force, but Shepard's priority is the mission, so fuck that. We're introduced to the Thorian Creepers, mindless organic zombies that are being controlled by the Thorian. Shepard downs the Creepers and colonists that attack him, then opens the way forward to the Thorian's chamber underground. It farts out an Asari clone to warn us of impending doom, but Shepard says, "No bitch, you!" and spends the next 12 minutes wiping out each clone and creeper the hyper-aggressive Audrey 2 sends at us. After destroying every node holding the massive creature up, the Thorian dies. Directly afterwards, an Asari pops out of a sack and explains she was one of Benezia's servants that Saren gave to the Thorian in exchange for information on the cipher, which will help Shepard interpret the Prothean visions. The Asari tells Shepard the ship Saren uses emits a signal that slowly indoctrinates people and bends them to its will. She absorbs some of the Thorian's knowledge while inside it and transfers it to Shepard. In exchange, he removes her brain from her skull. The information given still isn't quite enough for Liara and Shepard to interpret, though. The Council reaches out to inform Shepard they lost contact with a unit on planet Vermeer and suggests he head there soon. First he goes to Novaria, where he's immediately greeted with hostility, but luckily for them, they're ordered to stand down. He learns that Benezia passed through pretty recently, and after a little bit of time he gets the pass he needs to access Peak 15 where she was last seen. Immediately upon getting to the hangar, the Geth attack, and they line the roads all the way to the Peak 15 lab. Inside they get a surprise when a supposed extinct species known as the Rachni attack. Before the squad can get too far in the facility, he finds transport around the place has been disabled. So he needs to perform some maintenance duties while simultaneously murdering Geth and Rachni to get Shepard over 500 kills. Once he gets the trams running, he meets a local captain who is doing his best to protect the survivors, and Shepard lends a helping hand when some Rachni show up looking for blood. He brute forces his way through the rest of the facility, killing off different types of aliens until he finally finds Matriarch Benezia. In front of her lies the Rachni Queen Saren intends to use to fight his enemies, but not if Shepard has anything to say about it because he destroys the Geth and Asari commandos she sends after him. After the fight, Benezia is able to temporarily regain control of her mind and informs Shepard that she's been indoctrinated. Saren sent her to locate the long-lost Mu relay, and transfers the data she uncovered to Shepard before she loses her mind again. She falls super quickly, and right away their attention is turned to the Rachni Queen trapped in its cage. Here we're given the choice. We can choose to let her live, or be the person that dooms the race to extinction. This Shepard hates bugs, bro, so it's not even a question, and he gasses the last surviving Rachni Queen. But as this random stranger explains, there are plenty of Rachni brood roaming around, and he suggests they set off a neutron purge that will kill off the remaining aggro babies. In the middle of telling us how to set it off, Arachni somehow sneak attacks him, but Rex appears to be the one that killed it here, so it's not being counted for Shepard. Using the guy's keycard, Shepard activates the purge and kills 9 of the Rachni that popped out to attack us. It's super difficult to figure out how many surviving Rachni are off screen here. The only data we have to go off of is the radar, which won't provide an exact number. I counted what looks to be 59 Rachni on the radar that were killed when the neutron purge went off, but it's very likely more. Regardless, I'll keep it at 59 because Shepard is not hurting for kills. Back on the Normandy, Shepard hangs up on the council again and does a side quest before heading to Virmire. Bring Down the Sky is a DLC mission, and even though every main quest in the game seems to be of utmost importance, this particular mission has an asteroid hurtling towards a very populated city. So having a Spectre pop in to settle things down makes sense here. A race that hates Commander Shepard with every fiber of their being is decimated by him on the asteroid. In order to prevent a collision with the nearby planet, he has to shut down the fusion torches propelling it towards disaster. The vast majority of the kills come from Batarians and their attack dog variant, but in order to ensure the lead Batarian pays for his crime, Shepard willingly sacrifices 3 innocent engineers in the process. Once that's done, Shepard heeds the Council's recommendation and lands on Virmire, which is an active hot zone that nets him 36 Geth kills. He links up with some stranded Solarians at their camp. Their leader Kira here briefs Shepard on the situation. Saren and his Geth have a base set up where he's breeding an army of Krogan using a cure for the genophage, a biological weapon used against the Krogan species to render them mostly infertile. This rightfully gives Rex mixed feelings, as he wants to take down Saren, but a way to save his people is what's most important to him. Shepard convinces Rex to back down by saying the cure Saren produced will turn the Krogan into servants, and it's not the right way to save his species. This rings home, and he calms the heck down, so Shepard discusses the plan of action with Kirahi. Shepard is to take a small squad through the back door, just how Shepard likes it, and plant a nuke in the base. While he does that, Kirahi will lead a fire team to take down some Geth and disable the AA guns preventing the Normandy from landing. The only caveat is he needs to borrow a party member to lead one of his teams. Shepard selects Ashley because he never really liked her anyway, and they part ways to get things started. This whole mission nets Shepard a hell of a lot of kills between the vast amounts of Geth inside and outside the base, alongside Krogan that have been indoctrinated by Saren. There's an Asari named Reyna right outside Saren's lab that pleads her innocence, but Shepard doesn't believe it and makes her pay. Once inside the lab, he's force-fed more visions from another beacon and has his first official interaction with the Reaper. Sovereign formally introduces itself and drops the hardest fucking line that would make any person poop themselves.
You exist because we allow it, and you will end because we demand it.
Sovereign details the Reaper's plans to harvest the organics in a mass extinction event that has repeated countless times every 50,000 years. The relays they used to jump around the galaxy were left by the Reapers to assist rising civilizations with advancing, which helps send them down a curated path planned by the Reapers. Meanwhile, Kaidan is arming the bomb and needs some help, so Shepard comes running to save the day and confronts Saren. A single punch to his stupid fucking face makes Soterian run, and they successfully detonate the bomb to wipe the base out. Now, it's unclear how many were left in the base, but we know for sure some indoctrinated Solarians were still imprisoned when the bomb went off, adding 5 kills to Shepard's count. Lastly, Kirahi, Ashley, and his entire team were killed. This is in large part due to Shepard ignoring ways to assist their job, like shooting down Geth drones or disabling comm systems. Some of his men die regardless, including Ashley, so we need to find out how many Solarians Shepard got killed by being selfish and making his job easier. Kirahi and 5 of his men can be seen on the Normandy if Shepard goes the extra mile, so we can reasonably assume Ashley and 5 Solarians in her squad die no matter what. So we won't count the 5 Solarians in her unit, but we will count Ashley since Shepard volunteered her. On top of that, Kirahi and his 5 men will also be counted since Shepard failed to help them. Kaidan whines about Ashley's loss, and Shepard tells him she fulfilled her duty as a soldier, then does a mind meld with Liara, who finally makes sense of the visions. She deciphers the visions as a Prothean distress signal, but more importantly, finds out the conduit Saren is searching for is located on the planet Ilos. The problem is the relay that leads there is an unfriendly one, which means Shepard needs to request help from the Council again. Their idea of help is to set up blockades outside the Citadel, and every friendly mass relay to discourage attacks from Saren and the Geth. They still refuse to believe Shepard about the Reaper threat, and Ambassador Udina walks to the Normandy to strand the crew on the Citadel in order to prevent him from causing trouble. Anderson sends a message to Shepard to meet at the club called Flux in the meantime. While on the way to the club, Shepard gets bothered by all kinds of riffraff, like Conrad begging Shepard to make him a Spectre, the xenophobic politician that Shepard commits his support to, and an addict asking Shepard to secure some performance-enhancing substances for him. He meets with Captain Anderson, who volunteers to help him get off the Citadel one of two ways: overriding Udina's orders or just barging in and manually unlocking the Normandy. He does the latter and gets shot for it, which allows Shepard and his crew to fly to Ilos, where he narrowly misses Saren. He follows him through the Prothean ruins and leaves behind a ton of scrap metal in his wake. But then when he finds his path blocked, he discovers a functioning Prothean AI that explains this facility was used to house Prothean in cryogenic stasis, but had to systematically shut them down to conserve power. The more surprising news here is that the Citadel is a big-ass relay that Reapers intend to use to begin their invasion. The conduit down yonder can be used to jump to the Citadel directly, so the AI urges Shepard to get going pronto. He's able to increase his kill count over 800 along the way, then enters the conduit. We watch a cutscene showing just how powerful Sovereign is, and proves why the Council are just a bunch of chuckle fucks. The Mako pops out into the Citadel and immediately crushes a couple Geth, but that's just the beginning of Shepard's killstreak as he murders Husks, Geth, and Krogan as he fights his way towards Saren's location. Eventually, they find him and confront him. But obviously Saren has to brag about his sick body mods that supposedly make him stronger, but bro dies super fast, it's so laughable. Shepard rushes forward and opens up communication to learn the massive Asari dreadnought carrying the Council is in desperate need of some help, giving Shepard a choice on whether or not to intervene. He orders Joker to hold back so the Alliance can save their strengths for the upcoming fight against Sovereign, which dooms the Destiny Ascension to destruction. According to the Mass Effect wiki, the ship carried roughly 10,000 people, plus the 3 Council members, catapulting Shepard's kill count sky high. But things aren't all hunky-dory quite yet, because those cybernetic upgrades Saren was sporting allow Sovereign to bring him to life for yet another ass beating. I initially didn't plan on counting him again, but considering I do count the Husks, and that's essentially what this form of Saren is, he's going on the count a second time. Destroying the Sovereign-controlled Saren scrambled the Mighty Reaper, which dropped its shield and allowed the Alliance to unleash a barrage that finally destroys the massive machine. One awkward fake death later, and Shepard is given the choice to select either Anderson or bitch-ass Udina as the new human council member. The choice is obvious here. It's Udina, motherfucker! Nah, I'm just kidding. Obviously it's Anderson. At the start of the second game, a text scroll states humanity took control of the Council within a month, and they sent Commander Shepard out to wipe out remaining Geth outposts to help ease the concerns of the population. We have no idea how many Geth he fought during this time period, so unfortunately, like the Batarians on Torfin, we have to leave them off the count. The Normandy approaches a planet where 3 ships have gone missing recently, and the culprits are looking to make the Normandy number 4. Things get hectic fast, but being the leader on the ship, Shepard does his duty to help who he can and saves Joker's life, but in the process is jettisoned into space and dies. A little over 2 years later, he suddenly wakes up in a strange facility under attack. Within a minute of coming back to life, Shepard is doing what he does best, but none of the enemies being downed here will count as actual kills since it's only mechs that he's fighting. While the mechs and Geth are similar in ways, the major difference is their sentience, so that's the sole reason why I won't be counting them as kills here. He meets his first friendly face soon after, and Jacob informs Shepard he's been dead as fuck for 2 years, but luckily most of his crew survived the attack. They fight some mechs together and eventually come across this dude named Wilson who is quick to explain his presence. It's not long before he's blasted by another friendly named Miranda, who confirms Wilson is the one responsible for the current state of the facility. She informs Shepard her boss wants to have a chat, but this guy never does it in person, and instead does it via hologram. Right away he wants Shepard to know how expensive it was to bring him back to life.
I hope you didn't replace anything really important.
The elusive man outlines his reasoning in bringing him back, claiming humanity's survival is tied to Shepard and that he needs him to investigate why certain colonies are suddenly disappearing. The Council refuses to help despite being all human, so Shepard takes his new Cerberus squadmates Miranda and Jacob along to the colony of Freedom's Progress, where they run into Tali and some other Quarians. They came looking for a fellow Quarian that decided to spend his pilgrimage at this podunk-ass place, but Tali is way more wary of Shepard now due to his link to Cerberus, which is a known rogue faction that is frequently linked to terrorism. The place is littered with mechs, and the Quarians get absolutely wrecked by a large one here. So as Tali tends to her squad, Shepard locates their friend, who seems to have gone mad. Shepard has to get his attention somehow, and they learn that a species known as the Collectors are the ones gathering humans for the Reapers. They use a massive swarm of robotic bugs to sting their prey and immobilize them, so their operations are quick and efficient. Eventually, Tali barges in and gets angry when Shepard tells her that her bro Vitor here is coming with them for further questioning, which is all for naught anyway when the elusive man claims the Quarian was too far gone to get any info from. Now that they know who was behind the attacks, he can begin doing some work on the back end to try and lure them out, since the Collectors live beyond the Omega-4 relay, which is unusable to everyone else in the galaxy. He tells Shepard to put a team together while he does that, but has a nice surprise for him in the form of Joker and an upgraded Normandy. His first stop is at Omega, a lawless super city that houses the galaxy's undesirables. He meets his first new squad mate, a well-known mercenary named Zaid. He tells Shepard he'll go wait on the ship while the commander meets Arya T'Loak, the badass Asari that runs Omega. She points Shepard towards his two future squad members, Mordin and Archangel. In order to access Archangel, he needs to accept a job from the nearby mercenary. Upon leaving, this obviously dumb asshole comes in to get the same job. Shepard can choose to intervene and convince him to walk away here, but he doesn't, and that will come into play a little bit later. A few minutes later, he's briefed on the situation. Archangel is set up in a building that has one lonesome bridge leading up to it, creating a bottleneck situation so it's easy for him to shoot anyone approaching. They want to send a large wave of volunteers up the bridge while more experienced mercs break into the basement and try to swarm him from below. In the meantime, Shepard sabotages the large mech they're planning to use and meets Sergeant Kafka before the mission starts. He finally gets his first official kill of the game here and does it in the most Arnold Schwarzenegger way possible.
You're working too hard.
Remember that confident idiot back at the mercenary store? Well, he dies immediately as the operation starts, and since Shepard could have convinced him not to, I'll chalk this up as a death he has some responsibility for. Shepard cleans out the rest and heads into the building to find that Archangel is our motherfucking boy Garrus. He got seasick of CSEC and went rogue, finding it much easier to simply murder criminals instead of arresting them. They team up to take down the incoming mercenaries, as 3 different groups send their subpar soldiers in as cannon fodder. I want to note here that Mass Effect 2 made the squad way more helpful, so they help out in killing enemies far more often than they did in the first game. So if some sections seem to have fewer kills than what you may expect, the squad is the reason why. Between himself and the mech he sabotaged, Shepard nets 65 kills while helping Garrus out, but the battle ends with the Turian getting severely injured and being rushed to the Normandy. He's quickly healed up and accompanies Shepard to the quarantine zone, where Mordin the Solarian scientist is hard at work making a cure for a plague. Shepard encounters some mercenary resistance and dispatches each one dumb enough to attack. In the search for Mordin, an infected Batarian theorizes that humans caused the plague since they aren't infected by it. Shepard don't play the blame game though, and allows him to die by withholding metagel. Finally, he finds the quick-talking Solarian whose energy is overstimulating.
Yeah, quit the love of God, take a breath.
He just recently finished the cure and is ready to disperse it, but mercenaries shut off environmental controls, putting everyone in the quarantine zone at risk. Shepard heads out and guns down every mercenary along the way, including 3 Batarians he made a deal with to save one of Mordin's guys, much to his dismay. The commander gets the environmental systems up and running and utilizes that to spread the cure quickly. Mordin accepts Shepard's offer and heads back to the Normandy. To get some closure on what happened 2 years prior, Commander Shepard heads to the original Normandy's crash site and spends some time gathering all 20 dog tags scattered around and paying his respects to the 20 crew members he lost during the attack. It's not entirely his fault that they died here, but the captain is responsible for their crew, and Shepard would agree with that statement wholeheartedly. Afterwards, they land on the Citadel, and Shepard is quick to add another party member. Master Thief Kasumi accepts the offer and waits on the ship while the commander shows his hatred to the press. He links up with Anderson, who makes it known he hates being a counselor, and it's all thanks to Shepard. He's concerned that Shepard is working with Cerberus and even asks if he wants his Spectre title back, but he declines and proceeds to tell Udina to fuck off. A large part of the second game is dedicated to the squad, trying to build it up and assisting them in their own personal missions. I elect to help Kasumi with hers right away. She wants to retrieve an item that has some very sensitive information on it. The caveat is the house we're breaking into belongs to someone dangerous. She's able to get Shepard into a party he's hosting, but the guy does not let her inside, probably because she's dressed in the most suspicious way possible. Inside, Shepard is able to sleuth his way through the house and kill all 45 of his security guards before offing him as well. Back on the Normandy, it's revealed the item store's memory memories of her deceased lover, and incriminating evidence that implicates the Alliance in a Batarian massacre, and destroys it after Shepard urges her to. Shepard continues to build his squad up some more by retrieving a powerful biotic from a maximum security space prison. However, the bitch-ass warden sees dollar signs and attempts to capture Shepard. He makes quick work of the unlucky souls nearby, and then hacks into the prison systems and releases Jack. He sees exactly how strong she is immediately when she destroys some large mechs with ease. He follows her trail and notes 4 dead bodies on the ground. I'm counting these because Shepard is the one that released her onto the prison, so he bears some responsibility for her rampage here. Over the intercom, we can hear that 3 sectors lost life support due to Jack's actions, and all life within them is gone. The prison has 4,350 prisoners and an unknown number of guards. If each block has an even amount of prisoners in it, then that means each one housed 145 prisoners, giving Shepard a hefty bump in his numbers. As he continues to pursue Jack, he earns some direct kills and counts the existing bodies along the way until he eventually downs the warden and finds Jack. She notes the Cerberus logo on the Normandy and expresses her distrust in them, but agrees to come with as long as she can read through Cerberus files stored on the ship. To round out the party, the Normandy lands on the planet Corliss, where the Krogan warlord Okeer can be found, but the region is a war zone, and Shepard comes in guns blazing, earning a nice 69 kills in all. However, during the mission, Okeer is poisoned trying to save a tank-grown Krogan he calls perfectly engineered. He brings it aboard the Normandy as a consolation prize and frees it despite the crew telling him not to. Like a true Krogan, Grunt agrees to join the squad after Shepard shows his strength. After showing that he's the big man in charge, Shepard goes to talk to his boss, and is directed towards the human colony of Horizon that recently went offline. On the way, Mordin provides an experimental suit so the squad can't be stung by the Collector bugs. They land near the colony and find they arrived in the middle of a Collector operation with several catatonic people strewn about. Shepard earns the honor of diversifying his kill count by adding Collectors, more Husks, Scions, and a Praetorian before he brings the turrets online to fire on the ship. The Collectors hurry out of there, and a familiar face greets Shepard. Caden Olenko is happy to see Shepard at first, but after learning he's working for Cerberus, he gets all pissy and says he's going back to the Citadel to tattle on him. Back on the Normandy, the elusive man admits he set the whole thing up. He was suspicious the Collectors are going after Shepard and people connected to him. He tipped Caden off about a possible attack, which in turn actually brought the aliens there. Shepard is rightfully pissed about this, but right now he needs to continue to build his team some more while the elusive man searches for a way to get them through the Omega-4 relay and strike the Collector's homeworld. The Normandy lands on the hostile planet of Hailstrom to find and recruit Tali, but the planet's sun fries shields quickly. Despite that extra wrinkle, the mission is straightforward. Shepard kills a whole lot of Geth while searching for Tali, and when he eventually finds her, she's more than ready to join the crew now that her entire team have been killed. Next on the agenda is the city of Ilium, where Shepard links up with Liara, who has become a powerful information broker and the go-to person to ask about the next 2 potential recruits, Samara and Thane. Shepard chooses to search for Thane first, but along the way he hears a familiar bitchy voice and goes to investigate and finds Conrad fucking Werner pretending to be a badass.
Poor little dumbass.
The search for Thane begins with some action against mechs, so the first actual kill comes in the form of a gravely injured Solarian that Shepard lets die. The rest of the way contains dozens of mercenaries that are put to rest before he eventually confronts the boss, but the assassin he's searching for drops in and does the rest. His impressive entrance gives Shepard zero doubts in his abilities, and Thane agrees to meet him on the Normandy. While here, Shepard assists Miranda in her own personal quest. She's the daughter of a filthy rich asshole that sees his own brood as belongings instead of people, so she secretly got her sister off-world and into the arms of a caring family. But now her father is close to discovering her whereabouts and she wants to prevent that. However, he's hired on some experienced mercenaries that serve as cannon fodder during the mission, successfully adding 38 more deaths to Shepard's ever-increasing kill count. It ends with Miranda having to kill an old friend in order to protect her sister and her family. Before locating Samara, I choose to do one of the DLC missions in the game and stop by Liara's apartment. Liara is missing and the apartment is being investigated by police and a Spectre. Shepard locates a data disk and discovers Liara is searching for the Shadow Broker. They head to the building detailed in the recording just in time for some fireworks. The Spectre elects to go up top, while Shepard goes in at ground level. 12 of the infamous information broker's agents go down quickly. Shepard walks in mere seconds after Terra shot a soldier and claims to have been too late to save Sakat, but things seem sus here, and that's because they are. Liara arrives, stating Terra is a Shadow Broker crony, and stole the data from the Solarian. This results in a chase sequence that adds nearly 30 kills. Liara takes the data drive off of Terra's lifeless corpse and is able to pinpoint the location of the Shadow Broker's base. It's heavily defended and takes quite a bit of effort to get into, but using his combat savvy and the highly electrified environment around them, the Broker's agents are defeated. They finally meet the Shadow Broker face to face, who is an absolutely terrifying alien known as a Yogg. But regardless of how intimidating he is, Liara uses her biotics to finish him off for good and take on the mantle of the Shadow Broker. After getting his friend into one of the most powerful positions in the galaxy, Shepard heads back to Ilium in search of Samara to round his crew out. This is also a fairly straightforward mission, with Shepard agreeing to help Samara find some information about a fugitive the local mercenaries helped smuggle off the planet. This one doesn't have as many kills due to the abundance of mechs, but regardless, Shepard bumps his count up a bit and convinces a drugged up Volus to attack the mercenary leader, which nearly results in his death. Shepard heads back to the police station and retrieves Samara, and now that the squad has become stronger, the elusive man's timing is impeccable. He calls in about a Turian distress signal that was intercepted by a collector's ship. They engage in some space combat, and the collector vessel is now floating there immobile. But during the approach, the Normandy's AI Edie states the ship doesn't appear to have been damaged at all, and that the drive core is just offline. Knowing the elusive man is probably pulling some fucky shit, Shepard navigates the seemingly abandoned ship and plugs Edie into it. It scans the systems and, to the surprise of no one, confirms it's a trap. The number of enemies Shepard eliminates is enough to get him over the 12,000 kill mark before he gets back to the Normandy. He wastes zero time calling up the elusive man to give him a piece of his mind, but Martin Sheen is nonchalant about it, because they verify the collectors use a device to identify if ships are friendly or foe in order to get through the Omega-4 relay. The next step is obtaining one of those, and luckily for us, Cerberus has a team of scientists aboard a derelict Reaper he recently lost contact with. But before they do that, Shepard wants to get some bonding time with the squad, and starts by going to the Krogan homeworld of Tachanka. He punches this Pyjak so hard it for sure dies upon impact. Then he talks to his old pal Rex, who has become a leader for the Krogan, and is told to talk to one of his bros about renting a truck to find the Solarian scientist Morden is searching for. Shepard takes down 40 mercenaries, local fauna, and an aggro test subject before they find Malon, a young scientist that intends to reverse the genophage. Morden ends him there and finishes his quest out, so we can segue directly into Grunt's rite of passage. Shepard disrespectfully headbutts a bitchy Krogan to show how serious this is, and kills the majority of the enemies we face during the trials, including this massive Thresher Maw. As a reward for passing, Grunt joins Rex's clan and is given the right to participate in Krogan customs. The next two missions are for Garrus and Thane, and both take place on the Citadel. I assist with Garrus' first, which is a revenge mission against a fellow Turian that got his entire squad killed before he became Archangel. Shepard earns 21 kills throughout the mission, and Garrus succeeds in sniping his hater. Thane, on the other hand, is searching for his son, who is being hired to assassinate an up-and-coming Turian politician that hates humans. This is mostly a stalking mission, but once Thane's son takes the Turian hostage, Shepard is quick to remove his one bargaining chip from the table. They head back to C-Sec, and Thane gets to have a long talk with his son. Zaid's mission is another revenge plot, but this one is much trickier to count due to the renegade nature of our hero. Let's get the mercenary deaths out of the way first, which bump the count up by 29. The big number comes from Shepard dooming a bunch of refinery workers to death. The building catches fire quickly during the course of the battle. Shepard is given the opportunity to try and save them, but declines in order to pursue Zaid's target. There are no clear numbers on how many employees work there, so I looked at the largest refinery currently on Earth. The Jemnagar refinery has around 2,500 employees, and we know for certain all of them perished in the fire. This adds a significant amount of kills and the largest mass casualty event caused by Shepard since the Asari Dreadnought explosion. Zaid finally catches up to his foe and sets him ablaze, walking off like a boss as he screams in the background. Jacob's mission is pretty short since he really wanted to investigate a crash site from his father's ship that went missing 10 years prior. The crew have gone mad due to the local fauna being toxic to them. Most of the enemies they face are mechs, but Shepard is still able to nab a few more kills here. Jacob finds out his father became a captain after the previous one died and took advantage of the situation to live like a king, while the people were forced to eat the local toxic food. He gives him a gun and tells him he knows what to do with it. They leave as his father uses it as intended. The next personal quest is for Jack, who wants to visit the old Cerberus lab she was was raised in and blow it up. Shepard only nets 15 kills here, but Jack gets to blow the place up, so that's pretty cool. Dolly's mission is more interesting because she's being tried for treason and accused of sending active Geth to her father and risking the safety of the Quarians. She's adamant she was careful and only sent inactive parts, so to prove her innocence, they board her father's ship. They find the ship is loaded with Geth, giving ample opportunity to increase the kill count. But Tali's father was experimenting on them and activating Geth himself in order to try and find a way to retake their homeworld. Homeboy died for it and nearly got his daughter arrested, but Shepard ain't having it and tells the Quarians to eat shit before taking Tully back to the Normandy. Finally, Shepard caps it off by helping Samara track down her murderous daughter on Omega. He pretends to be interested in her in order to get back to her apartment where Samara awaits. They're both powerful Asari though, so it comes to a stalemate, and even though I'm doing a Renegade playthrough, it doesn't make sense for Shepard to choose Morinth here. Doing so jeopardizes the mission and the crew. So Samara is an easy choice, and with Shepard's help, she ends her daughter's life. With the crew all happy and appeased, they arrive at the derelict Reaper that looks to have some Geth on board. While inside, it's clear the Reaper, despite being dead, still maintains certain functions, such as indoctrinating the Cerberus crew inside. It also puts up a Mass Effect field that traps Shepard inside, forcing them to find a way to bring it down for their eventual evac. This mission is the most action-packed one so far, with Shepard killing off 152 Husks and Scions. Twice he spots what appears to be a friendly Geth that is able to communicate clearly. It successfully lowers the shield, preventing Shepard from getting to the Reaper core before it succumbs to the Husks, and after some time, he's able to destroy it. They grab the Geth's body and dart back to the Normandy, and along the way earn another 2 kills. And this is where I fuck up, guys. Lambast me in the comments because I truly deserve it. I accidentally chose to sell Legion to Cerberus. I wasn't paying 100% attention to the dialogue and sold the poor sap to Cerberus for study. However, it's something that a Renegade Shepard would likely do, so as much as I hate it, it fits the narrative. This transitions into one of the oddest moments in the entire series in my opinion. Shepard and every single member of his squad leave for some unknown mission and leave the Normandy to Joker while EDI scans the Reaper IFF they need to travel through the Omega-4 relay. After a virus corrupts the ship, it gets attacked by collectors, and every single member of the crew except for Joker gets kidnapped. This means it's time to jump through the relay and attack the collectors ASAP. They pop out into a debris field, and Joker uses his pilot skills to maneuver through it without a problem. But hiding in the debris are recon drones that attack the ship. Shepard quickly eradicates it and heads back up to the cockpit just in time to order Joker to utilize their new cannons to blast apart an incoming collector vessel. As far as I could find, there isn't any information on how many could be aboard a single collector ship, so we're going to put that in our back pocket and get to it later. This begins what is probably the most memorable mission in the entire series, and that's because Shepard truly feels like a commander that has to make the right decisions to keep his squad alive as they work to destroy the collector base. He assigns Kasumi to vent duty, and Jacob to lead the second fire team. As they split up, Shepard takes down 26 collectors personally until they find some of the kidnapped crew being contained within pods. They release them, but Shepard claims he needs everyone on board and orders the crew to backtrack to the Normandy without any help, which we find out later kills them due to there not being an armed escort. The next portion requires a powerful biotic, with Jack being Shepard's choice, while Miranda leads a diversion team to take on the brunt of the collectors. While Jack's force field keeps them safe from the swarm of robotic insects, they still need to combat the collectors as Shepard inches ever closer to 15,000 kills. The whole squad regroups and are able to seal the doors behind them as they advance towards the massive base's main control room. He selects Jack and Morden in order to have some of his best fighters hang back to take on any collectors trying to come up from behind. They make mincemeat out of the collectors and their ilk, but once that's over, they come up on the incomplete human Reaper that explains why the collectors have been harvesting humans. He's quick to destroy the tubes feeding it, sending it hurtling downwards. Shepard begins planting the bomb, but the elusive man suggests he use a radiation blast instead to kill every living thing on board while still preserving all the tech for research purposes. He agrees with his logic, but it won't be as easy as just planting the bomb and leaving, because Shepard has to fight a Reaper face to face. Collectors also show up during this fight, but they die either to a squad or by the Reaper's massive energy blasts. Eventually, the human Reaper becomes another one of Shepard's victims, and they sprint back to the Normandy with every squad mate surviving the mission. As they fly away, the blast goes off, killing everything left on board the massive base. Again, there's no solid number to go by that estimates the collector population within the base. Just kind of eyeballing it, the base is massive, but it's maybe half the size of the Citadel, which we know houses 13.2 million residents. If we take that figure and split it in half, that means approximately 6.6 million lifeforms were on the base. That number also includes the collectors inside the ship they blew up before docking, which sends Shepard's kill count skyrocketing to insane numbers. Shepard brags to the elusive man about his body count and tells him the priority is stopping the Reapers, so if he isn't with him, then he's against him, and the final shot of the game shows the Reapers slowly approaching the galaxy. Even though that's the end of the game, there's a DLC mission called Arrival that has Shepard infiltrating a Batarian outpost to save an undercover operative who claims to have vital information about the Reaper invasion. He gets 10 kills as he searches the prison and eventually finds Dr. Kenson on the verge of being tortured, which I think is good cause for a knockout punch. On their way out of the prison, 34 Batarians are taken out in order for them to find a shuttle to take to Kenson's research base on a nearby asteroid. She explains they found proof the Reapers will arrive via the relay in this system in just 2 days. They set up the project on this asteroid in order to launch it into the relay and destroy it. However, the explosion will take out the entire system and the 300,000 Batarians that reside within it. Kenson reveals herself to be a double-crossing asshole who takes Shepard captive, but she and her team can't be blamed too much considering they've been indoctrinated. He eventually wakes up several hours later, and having lost precious time, he's quick to act and begin his escape. Over the course of about 30 minutes, Shepard takes on everyone at the base, making mincemeat of the indoctrinated researchers and Dr. Kenson herself. In order to delay the eventual Reaper invasion, Shepard elects to target the relay, and the screen shows the exact amount of Batarians in the system, confirming that the massive explosion wiped out exactly 304,942 lives. Around 6 months later, Shepard is being detained on Earth for his role in the death of all those Batarians, but he's called down to talk to a committee where they explain more colonies are going dark. Shepard suspects the Reapers have finally made it into the galaxy, but then a video feed confirms they are a lot closer than that. There's not a whole lot of time to act because a Reaper comes down nearby and makes the politicians regret not heeding Shepard's word. Shepard and Anderson work together to survive, eliminating 8 husks before finding temporary shelter. Inside, Shepard spots a young boy hiding out in a vent, but he refuses to let Shepard help him and retreats further into it. Right outside, they lay witness to an Alliance ship exploding and causing a massive shockwave that crumbles the building under their feet. It puts them closer to some more kills to add to the count though. Eventually, the Normandy pinpoints their position and picks them up, except Anderson psychs them out by committing himself to the survival effort on Earth. He refuses all of Shepard's pleas, and the last thing he sees before leaving Earth is that little boy getting wrecked by a Reaper. Admiral Hackett buzzes in asking Shepard to drop by Mars to investigate an outpost they recently lost contact with that was researching some Prothean solutions to the Reaper problem. When they get there, they find Cerberus as the cause and quickly dispatch them. Inside the outpost, Liara makes her appearance by crawling out of a vent and killing a couple Cerberus soldiers herself. She joins the squad, and Shepard has James go back to the shuttle after telling him this is an OG-only mission. Cerberus infiltrated the outpost from within and sent a small squadron of soldiers that fall victim to Shepard and his crew. They get to the archives where the elusive hologram informs Shepard he intends to use the data to control the Reapers and warns him not to interfere. But that ain't like Shepard at all. Kaidan finds the Cerberus operative trying to delete the data, but what he doesn't expect is to get his shit rocked by her. That begins a chase sequence that ends with Kaidan again getting humiliated by this Terminator-ass woman. But then she turns her attention to Shepard and pays the iron price for it. They get aboard the Normandy with the data and hurry to the Citadel to tend to Kaidan's wounds. The data drive contains valuable information on a massive weapon the Protheans were building before the Reapers wiped them out. The goal on the Citadel is to ask the Council for help in the war against the Reapers. It's about as successful as it was the last time, with the Asari and Solarian more concerned about their homeworlds. Udina complains, as is tradition, but luckily the Turian counselor is there to spare us from Udina's whining. He suggests Shepard talk to the Turian Primarch on their home planet's moon. He may be able to get Shepard the help he needs, but he can't confirm if he's even alive. They reinstate his Spectre status, and on the way out he gives this reporter a piece of his mind. They arrive outside of Palaven and watch as Reapers continue to decimate Turian forces, but luckily things aren't quite as bad on their moon. but they're still pretty shitty. 9 husks are made past tense before Shepard locates the commanding officer. He confirms the Primarch is dead, and without re-establishing the communication tower, they have no way to verify who is next in line. So naturally, that means he needs to clean house around the tower and sends Liara up to repair it. Upon returning, a welcome face is there to greet Shepard. They confirm Lieutenant Victus as the next man up, and Garrus agrees to help find him. Shepard has Liara head back to the Normandy due to an issue with Edie, while James and Garrus help defend the base from an incoming attack. On the way to Victus's location, and at his base, several more Reaper troops attempt to kill Shepard, but as always, he puts them down. He informs Victus he's the next Primarch and requests his help against the Reapers. He believes the Krogan will be vital to the war effort and tells Shepard if he can get them on board, then he'll lend the Turian fleet. But a slight problem with Edie is cause for disruption, and when Shepard goes to check it out, he finds she transferred herself into the body of the Terminator from Mars. She becomes a new squad mate here, and gives Joker a physical body he can crush on. This game features several DLC missions, with some offering a good amount of content. The one that sends Shepard back to Eden Prime is an important one because the last living Prothean joins his team. Cerberus uncovered an intact stasis pod, and Shepard liberates it from their control by killing 38 of them. Back on the Citadel, Shepard meets with Arya T'Loak, who has been kicked off Omega courtesy of Cerberus and intends to take it back. But in the meantime, she tells Shepard if he can help her unite the 3 big mercenary clans, then she can get them to fight for him. Despite it sounding like a daunting task that would require a load of violence, only 2 out of the 3 groups result in death. Shepard helps the Blood Pack find a new leader when he guns the current one down, and the Blue Suns require the death of a Turian general, who refuses to stop messing with them. After securing those war assets, Shepard invites diplomats representing the Solarians, Turians, and Krogan onto the Normandy. Rex's sole condition for an alliance is a cure for the genophage. The Solarian gets real uppity about it, whereas Shepard and Victus are all about it as long as they can be friends. The Solarian that Mordin killed back on Tuchanka in the second game was able to actually develop immunity within a few select Krogan women, meaning a cure may not take long to procure. Shepard and Rex head to the Solarian homeworld of Surkesh to oversee the transfer of the lone surviving Krogan immune to the genophage. Mordin is there, and he reveals he secretly gave the information to Rex in an attempt to save the Krogan. Shepard interacts briefly with Eve, but it's been far too long without any death, so Cerberus attacks to relieve the peace and suffers heavy losses due to Shepard's expertise. Eve shows she knows how to defend herself before they leave the planet, and Shepard debriefs with Admiral Hackett, who is overseeing the construction of the Crucible. Rex holds out committing the Krogan to the war until the cure is done, but Mordin believes he can generate one quickly using Rex's and Eve's tissue samples. The team heads to the Krogan homeworld of Tuchanka with the intent of using a massive device called the Shroud that can disperse the genophage cure across the planet. However, the Solarians are still wary of the after effects curing the Krogan might have. Their Dalatras says Shepard is being short-sighted and explains the Shroud has been sabotaged by Solarians in case something like this became a possibility. She offers Solarian help in the war as long as Shepard prevents Mordin from finding the issue and fixing the Shroud. The Krogan will believe themselves cured and continue to fight the Reapers as well. Soon after arriving, Shepard clears 11 husks from the landing zone, which allows Rex to escort Eve onto the planet. But the other Krogan get triggered by Mordin's presence and want to kill him regardless of why he's there. Eve tells them to simmer down and they head out while Rex talks about Krogan expanding across the universe once this is all over, which gives Shepard some pause. They're stopped in their tracks due to a blockage in the road and take an alternative path that splits the group up. Shepard heads underground and takes note of the massive quakes apparently being caused by an enormous Thresher Maw. Much to their surprise, they find a mutated Rachni and wind up encountering them along with other Reaper forces while they continue their journey to link up with Rex. After the killing is done, they jump in the vehicle with Rex and they're able to get a whole lot closer to the Reaper. Along the way, they detail a plan to lure the huge Thresher Maw out to attack the Reaper directly using Maw hammers to bring it to them. They just have to dodge the Reaper death beam easy peasy and kill a few more things to get that done. When Shepard uses the final Maw hammer, the plan works splendidly, and we get to watch this kick-ass scene showing a massive organic taking down an equally as massive synthetic. With the Shroud cleared, Shepard meets up with Mordin, who informs him that Eve passed away due to the stresses her body endured due to the cure. He identifies an issue that will stop the cure from spreading, and this is where Shepard makes a decision. He can let Mordin go up top to fix it, or stop him so he can get Solarian help and prevent a possible Krogan uprising down the line. Renegade Shepard recognizes the Solarian point of view and tells Mordin to stop, but he refuses to, which leads to a bullet in the back. He survives long long enough to take the elevator up and dies right in front of the console as the shroud seemingly works as intended, dooming every Krogan still alive to a slow extinction. This single act gives Renegade Commander Shepard one of the highest kill counts in gaming history, possibly the highest, as 2.1 billion Krogan are still left alive by this point. He attends Eve's funeral and puts on a happy face as Rex commits Krogan troops to the war effort. Afterwards, the Solarian counselor contacts Shepard and thanks him for his foresight, but has another pressing matter regarding Counselor Udina, who has been caught moving massive amounts of money. Shepard's presence is requested on the Citadel, but upon their arrival, nobody is answering Joker's request to dock the Normandy. Bailey from C-Sec was able to get a distress signal out, advising all incoming ships that Cerberus is attacking the Citadel. Luckily for them, Shepard is there to gun them down and save Bailey. He informs Shepard the Council split up and that the Solarian should be nearby. Several Cerberus die along the way until the crew is able to locate the Counselor. However, a cyberpunk assassin is also there and succeeds in offing the Solarian after their poor attempt at cloaking. The assassin gets away, putting the pressure on Shepard to find the remaining counselors before he does. Cerberus continues to die in droves until Shepard catches up to the counselors, but Kaidan Alenko thinks he's the main character here and refuses to believe Shepard about Udina's corruption. Eventually, he gets sick of Kaidan's dumbassery and shoots him, then gives the entire galaxy something to celebrate in these tough times when he delivers a kill shot to Udina. With Cerberus' attempted coup fresh in his mind, now is as good a time as any to team up with Arya to take back Omega. This DLC mission is decently lengthy and features a ton of action as Shepard teams up with Arya and her old pal Nyreen to remove Cerberus from Omega. There's quite a bit of mechs to deal with, and Arya in particular is a strong companion who can knock out several soldiers in a single blow. But Shepard's still left with a decent amount of kills between Cerberus and some of their experiments. The largest chunk of deaths comes from a single moment where Shepard elects to shut down power to several life support systems that kill thousands of civilians. This is done to shut down the powerful force field Cerberus set up everywhere, and with them down, it leaves them vulnerable to attack. Since it's specified thousands twice, and not tens of thousands, we can assume upward of 9,999 civilians died on Omega, which is only a drop in the bucket for Shepard at this point. Once that alliance is secured, Shepard looks for another one with the Quarians, but they have their hands full after starting a war with the Geth to take back their homeworld. While Shepard is glad they're willing to do that, their timing is booty because he needs the largest fleet in the galaxy to fight the Reapers. Tali finally joins the crew again as they plan a mission to board a massive Geth dreadnought to disable the Reaper signal within that is enhancing the Geth in combat. They fly through this huge space battle in order to get to the dreadnought unnoticed and board the ship. Shepard is no stranger to fighting the Geth at this point and adds 53 more of them to his overall count before they eventually get to the drive core and discover a Geth inside. This was once Legion, who I accidentally sold to Cerberus. The Geth underwent a reconstruction but still wants to help us. The Geth have effectively been enslaved by the Reapers and it wishes to free them from their grasp. After Shepard releases it, the Geth disables the ship's drive core to show its intent, but it unknowingly activates a Quarian admiral's bloodlust who sends his whole fleet in to destroy the dreadnought with them still on board. They hurry to a life pod and back on the Normandy, Shepard shows that admiral what a burst appendix feels like. He leaves the room in pain and the Geth comes in to inform the rest that the Reapers have a base on Rannoch, the Quarian homeworld, that needs to be disabled to continue to free the Geth from Reaper control. Shepard spends the next few missions assisting the Quarians in their efforts to combat the Geth. He desperately needs the largest fleet in the galaxy to fight the Reapers, so he'll do what it takes to relieve the Quarians of the Geth so they can shift focus. There's 2 missions on Rannoch that he can choose between. There's an important admiral whose ship was shot down and needs saving, so that becomes his first choice, and it features the most kills with 49 Geth meeting their end during this rescue mission. The other mission doesn't actually have any combat in it. Instead, Shepard is placed in a virtual world in order to disable a server controlling Geth fighters. Once he completes the objective, the ships go offline, and an unknown amount of Geth are disabled, but not actually killed as they could potentially come back online. This gives the Quarian fleet some much needed reprieve from the constant fighting. But the Reapers still have a highly protected base on their homeworld that is continually upgrading the Geth, so the final push to take the planet back comes when Shepard lands his squad on the base and infiltrates it. 51 Geth are taken out by our main character, and just when they think they've reached the end when the Normandy bombs the base, a goddamn Reaper climbs out of it. Shepard hurries to his shuttle while the Quarians bombard the Reaper from space. Jamming towers prevent them from performing a precision shot, so Shepard and his massive Randy Marsh-sized balls jumps down and faces the Reaper directly using a targeting laser. laser that allows the Quarians to hit the Reaper directly in the weak spot, its ass. The Reaper echoes the words of Sovereign before it receives a final barrage to end its synthetic life. Afterwards, the allied Geth presents a solution that would aid Shepard in his fight against the Reapers. Upload the Reaper code to all remaining Geth to upgrade them, but obviously Tali and every Quarian out there has qualms with that idea. Shepard has to make a choice here. Side with the Geth or side with the Quarians. Shepard is gunning for that kill count record though, baby, and sides with the Quarians, which effectively eliminates the Geth from the galaxy. The exact number of them is unknown, which ranges from the millions to the low billions, so that gives me some leeway here, considering how much of a threat they were to the galaxy in the first game, and that they nearly exterminated the Quarians when they rebelled. It's not far-fetched that their numbers would be around 1 billion. Tali looks over her homeworld peacefully for the first time in her life, and the Quarians commit their fleet to Shepard. Back on the Normandy, the Asari counselor reaches out and requests to speak to Shepard in person, so he magically appears just seconds later and is told about an artifact that may help finish the Crucible. It requires an item referred to as the Catalyst, but nothing in the schematics indicates what it is, so Shepard plans to head to the Asari homeworld of Thessia to check this shit out. But as he's about to get to the Normandy, Rex is there blocking his way, and he bitch slaps this rando that gets in his way and confronts Shepard about sabotaging the genophage. Unfortunately, Shepard can't talk him down like he did on Vermeer, which forces his hand in killing the Krogan. He shakes that unexpected loss off and travels to Thessia to see the Asaris experiencing heavy losses. He hops on a turret and guns down 19 Reaper forces before he talks to the nearby lieutenant, who reluctantly agrees to help carve a path to the temple the artifact is in. I don't know about anyone else, but it seems Shepard does the majority of the carving here. They find the temple and some scientists inside with their throats slit, so it's no surprise Kai Leng shows up right after they successfully activate the Prothean beacon hidden within the statue. After a short battle, Mr. Leng cheats and calls in air support, allowing him just enough time to grab the Prothean VI and leave the Normandy crew behind. Shepard watches angrily as Reapers continue to invade the planet, but luckily there's hope. Kai Leng's signal abruptly ends in a system that suspiciously has all communications blocked. That makes it our next destination. Upon landing on Horizon, which is supposed to be a refugee camp, it's made clear it's anything but that. They find out Cerberus is luring innocents there under a guise of safety, only to experiment on them and try to nail down how Reaper indoctrination works. Shepard does his duty and eliminates the Cerberus troops and their experiments during his investigation of the facility. He also meets up with Miranda, who is tracking her father there. Henry holds his other daughter Oriana hostage, but lets her go and demands Shepard keep him alive. But Miranda has other ideas.
No deal.
But he was able to mortally wound Miranda and she succumbs to her injuries, but is able to let Shepard know she got a trace on Kai Leng before he left. Pursuing Leng will begin the endgame. So before that, Shepard is sent in to meet with Dr. Bryson to discuss some intriguing findings about a possible Reaper killer. However, he's murdered by his assistant before Shepard learns too much. This sends him on a wild goose chase that has him looking for a Dr. Garneau. Everyone within the station continually tells Shepard to fuck off. They eventually find Dr. Garneau locked away, but he too is acting strangely. His voice changes and he breaks the glass and runs away. A lot of this DLC is Shepard just chasing people around the galaxy. Leviathan forces Garneau to blow himself up, so Shepard goes to talk to Dr. Bryson's daughter, who is now the most knowledgeable person in the galaxy when it comes to Leviathan. They take her back to her dad's lab and allow Leviathan to control her, then trace the signal to a planet called 2181 Desponia, like it's an episode of 24. On the planet, he takes a mech down to the deep ocean and discovers Leviathan there and has a long chat with it about joining the war. This DLC really opens up the lore of Mass Effect by giving the Reapers an origin story. These race of massive organics created the Reapers and experienced something similar to what the Quarians experienced with the Geth. By the end, Leviathan agrees to join the fight and Shepard ends the mission 106 kills richer than before. Mass Effect 3 does a great job of tying its side content into the main storyline by providing assets that assist the war effort. I didn't do all of these, but I did a decent chunk of them. Some of the missions bring back previous squad members to assist in certain missions as well. In all, Shepard upped his count by 721 by completing these missions to bolster the fight against the Reapers. And now finally, Shepard gets his chance to exact revenge against Cerberus and the atrocities they've committed. I mean, sure, he may have genocided a few species, but at least he doesn't indoctrinate civilians and force them to fight for him. They track Kai Leng to the Cerberus base and kill off any Cerberus soldiers that impede their search for the Prothean VI stolen on Thessia. Eventually, they find the elusive man's room, but of course he's not there, proving his namesake is annoyingly true. His hologram pops up to smugly tell Shepard he has the catalyst, which, per the Prothean VI, is actually the Citadel. And needs to be combined with the Crucible, which is going to be pretty fucking difficult now that the Elusive Man informed the Reapers of our intentions. He fled to the Citadel, and the Reapers moved it right outside of Earth to protect it from organic tampering. Kai Lang makes an appearance and promptly dies, even before the last of his Cerberus help is killed. That's embarrassing. With Cerberus mostly finished, Shepard meets with Admiral Hackett aboard the Normandy and discuss a plan to get Shepard into the Citadel, using a beam the Reapers are using on Earth to transport bodies for processing. In a badass sequence, it shows all available fleets arriving to take the fight to the Reapers in a massive space battle. While that's going on, Shepard takes a shuttle to Earth to begin the last stretch. The battle for Earth is absolute chaos, with Reaper forces devastating Alliance numbers. Shepard has to take down a huge cannon to allow air forces to help with the operation. The most difficult part is the Reaper protecting the beam they need to use to get into the Citadel, which is providing interference and making it impossible to hit with missiles. During the course of this huge battle, Shepard kills just shy of 200 Reaper forces before he's able to lure the Reaper far enough away from the beam and smash it with a missile. This opens the Reaper up to attack from all angles, allowing Shepard to add yet another one to his resume of kills. Harbinger and several other top Reapers break off from the battle above and head to Earth, making things more urgent for the ground troops. In the meantime, Hackett arrives with the Crucible in tow, so the ground troops begin their death charge to the beam. Many die on the way, and Garrus nearly becomes one of them, but somehow, someway, the Normandy is able to evacuate him without being shot down by the Reaper. Shepard nearly becomes one of the dead when the Reaper laser hits a bit too close, but he picks himself up and walks excruciatingly slow towards the beam and guns down 4 more Reaper forces on the way. He gets to the beam and pops out onto the Citadel, but this room is littered with numerous bodies waiting processing. But luckily Anderson also made it up here, except he's being controlled by the Elusive Man, who finally meets Shepard in person. He goes on about being in control, but he's under Reaper influence and is simply in denial about that. He can control both of them, however, and forces Shepard into shooting Anderson. His grasp isn't that strong though, and Shepard is able to pull off a shot that kills the Elusive Man. With the threat eliminated, he gets the Citadel arms open and sits down with Anderson for some R&R. But Anderson succumbs to his wounds and dies by his side. I won't count this as a kill for Shepard, since he had no control over his actions that were being driven entirely by the Elusive Man. The Crucible is able to dock, but Hackett calls Shepard in a panic saying nothing is happening. He faints before he can get to the console and promptly goes to heaven. An angel shows up asking why the fuck he's there. Dude killed so many people and doesn't deserve a spot. The child hologram he's seeing is the catalyst created by Leviathan to come up with a solution to preventing conflict between organics and synthetics. But inevitably, the creations rebel against their creators. So the solution it came up with is the Reapers. They harvest advanced civilizations to preserve life and leave primitive ones to continue the cycle. It explains that the completed Crucible is capable of releasing a tremendous amount of energy throughout the galaxy and passes the solution off to Shepard now that he's the first organic to ever be in this position. The game has several different endings to choose from. The perfect ending was not available to me because I didn't play enough side content to get my military strength up to the minimum amount, but it's very similar to the ending I think fits the story most. Before I get to that, if you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and consider subscribing for more content like this. The truly Renegade ending really sucks, but it does result in the most amount of kills. Shepard decides to do fuck all and lets the Reapers continue the cycle by harvesting all the advanced organics in the galaxy. The population numbers in Mass Effect haven't always been consistent. There are several instances where they reference trillions throughout the galaxy, but the number found online caps it out at around 86 billion. Considering there's likely many species we never encountered, I'm more inclined to lean towards the trillion number mark, which would put the truly Renegade Shepard into unreachable territory with his kill count. What other character in gaming history can get close to that number? I'd wager Shepard would hold the top spot, but based on the teaser trailer of the next Mass Effect game, we know for certain that ending is not canon, which leaves us with the Destroy ending. It's seen as the most likely and one I went with. In the perfect ending, Shepard survived this, but in mine he doesn't. He sacrifices himself to eliminate all synthetic life from the galaxy. I already counted the Geth, and it's impossible to determine how many people throughout the galaxy require synthetics to survive, which just leaves us with the Reapers. We know via Leviathan that the Reapers' origins began about 1 billion years ago. We don't know how many they made before the Reapers rebelled, so if we assume the cycle is every 50,000 years, and we know each one ends with the new Reaper being created from the organics harvested during the cycle, then that gives us a minimum of 20,000 1,000 Reapers. That's a nice final act to end the series, as the Crucible sends a wave of energy out to wipe out the Reapers and their forces, who we have zero data on in terms of their numbers. We know all Reaper forces die here, but the only ones we see are the 5 husks on Earth. This blast also destroys the relays, making travel in the galaxy impossible until they're eventually restored years later. The Normandy tries to outrun it, but crash lands on a jungle planet to begin their new life. In my game, Liara places Shepard's name on the Normandy Memorial alongside Anderson's. He'll be known as the man that saved the galaxy, despite being a raging asshole. Once the next game eventually releases, we'll see which ending is canonized, but for now, this will have to do, as Shepard's life ends with an absolutely bonkers kill total of 3,106,951,903. That concludes his story, and I'm looking forward to something shorter. Thanks as always for watching. I'm King Deschain, signing off for now.